start with the general overview of where ETH and Bitcoin are, and I'm gonna start that overview with the S&P, with the what S&P did on Friday and how it closed. And according to my measurements, it now I have some intermediary levels as well. It has closed below this previous level of support, so it broke into a lower low. Now I don't know if Roy mentioned to you about, I'm gonna send a video out on the general chat. The S&P did something that's called the kiss of death, which basically means it went up to the 21 MA. Roy, is it the MA or the EMA? Well, anyways, the 21 EMA slash MA on the daily here. This is what this lift was. And then it came down and made a lower low. And this generally signals the start of a bear market. Now, it's not a bear market immediately. That's why I'm going to send you the video, because there's a guy that does a wonderful TA analysis of longer term trends. And he shows how this previously acted in the past, and it is a little bit counterintuitive. So what happens is the S&P does a lower low, and then there's a pump, and that pump lasts. It's a micro pump in the grand scheme of things. So it's not a full-on rally like this one, but it is a 2-3 month lift. And then there's a bigger drop, and the market continues downwards. So this would be in line with what crypto generally does, which is it does a lift October, November, even December, and then it starts coming down December, end of December and January. So we've yet to see what the fundamentals will hold, but this definitely is not good in the grand scheme of things, in terms of the S&P actually holding the support here and continuing upward. That's not great, especially not when on the weekly the stochastic is turned down and it looks like it wants to come all the way down, and so does the regular RSI. Now, given again this context of it's made a lower low, but it generally rallies after that, is what brings us to where we are right now with ETH and Bitcoin, which is, in my opinion, a space of uncertainty. There are indicators that signal, the way I'm reading them, they signal a lift. And there are indicators that show that the downtrend on the longer time frames is not finished. So the question is, what will happen next? And of course, when we're trading, it depends on the time frame that you're trading on, and you will take those indicators into account. For instance, I am in Bitcoin. I am in a long-term short, in a 4-hour short time frame short, watching out the daily background. So I haven't closed my short. I'm still waiting for the 17.3 K target for that short, which is the target of this channel. So yes, I can see that's for Bitcoin. Sorry if I haven't mentioned that. I can see shorter time frames trying to do a little bit of a lift, but I'm not taking that into account, because I'm not doing a 1-hour trade, I'm doing a 4-hour trade. And the background for the 4-hour trade is the daily overview. Yeah, so can we have a double bottom for Bitcoin, or even a lower low following what the S&P did, and then a reset there at the bottom and a lift, and then after that lift a continuation downward? Absolutely. I don't think that Bitcoin has had its 3 steps down. So if you follow the pink lines, let me make them a little bit thicker. There we go. Now I'm gonna put this here at the 13K, but there are some intermediary levels that I'm watching. There we go. So I believe we've only seen a level 1 and a level 2 drop, and I've been very conservative with this one, because if I am to measure this whole M formation and put it and use it as a target on the daily, it would actually lead me to level 3 being level 2. So it would be a more dramatic scenario. Why do I not do this? Because there's a lot of support around where we are right now. Let's call it the 18, because it's 17.5/19, the 18K line. So this pink line here, but it is a range. I like to use lines because my screen is smaller than Roy's, and I like to keep it minimal rather than use a range. But I am looking at the bigger picture and thinking this is not done. However, can we still see ups and downs in this space? And by this space, I mean this daily triangle. Absolutely. ETH has a beautiful daily pattern. ETH is more regular than Bitcoin in this pattern formation here. But yes, we can see a lift again up to the 55 even on the daily for the shorter time frames to catch a breather, and then another push down. And that would make me think about the shorter time frame formation and the arcs, because I'm looking at this as being a double top when it might not be. It might be actually preparation for a mid-range high. Now, why am I looking so much at the daily levels? Because the intraday levels, the hourly levels, and the 15-minute levels are just sideways for both of them. ETH has had a bigger range. Just give me a second to close the door. ETH has had a bigger range movement than Bitcoin this weekend, but the hourly timeframes don't tell me too much. They only tell me that they got rejected in a triple top formation, at the 20K range. And that's it. And they're making higher lows, but by the same token, they're making lower highs as well. So it is a space where it can go both ways, and I choose to look at the bigger time frames, because to me the bigger time frame trends tend to be, how can I say, more higher probability. So the stochastic on the day has turned down for Bitcoin, and the MACD shows these decreasing waves. Every time we have these decreasing waves, there's a push down. So this wave here and this wave here, they form like a, I don't know what to call it, like a divergence. It's not really a divergence. Crypto Phase, one of the guys that I used to listen to at the beginning when I started trading, he says, what goes up must come down. So when we see this decreasing formation in the MACD waves, there's going to be a drop. Here it is again. I'm just doing a little bit of back testing, and here it is again. Now this could be followed on my Bybit app on my phone. I have the MACD. I don't have it on the on my shorter time frames, because I like to keep it here in my computer charts. I like to keep it on the daily, just so that I don't get distracted by too many indicators. So here it is, decreasing waves, drop down, decreasing waves. Here there was a little bit of a drop, not too much, but it was caught between these two levels. Here we might have the same situation again. We might be caught between these two levels. We might see a lift up to the 21K range, this divergence line, a little bit above the 55 EMA. But until until, so the confirmation for me of a movement upwards would be breaking this yellow divergence line and then holding it. And yes, if we break this yellow divergence line and gray divergence line, and we hold it, I am looking at closing my short on a back test, because it's not, this is not good. This would be the first step to come up to here, and here to come up to here. But I wouldn't be risking it, because I have seen moves out of daily trends, daily channels like this be absolutely astronomical, like 20, 50, 20, 30, 40, even 50%. I don't want to, it's too high of a risk to take, in my opinion. I don't want to risk the trade for that. So can it go, the way we're going to do the trade setup for Bitcoin, we're going to look at both directions. We're going to look at the validation and invalidation levels, and we're going to look at signals towards either direction. So we're going to see what has been the major support and resistance so far. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the 1 hour time frame. I'm going to switch off traders reality there, and I will be referring to the MAs. Where are the MAs? Here are the MAs. Now, if we're looking at the intra-week, so the trades that we'll be looking at this week are 1 hour trades, and the context for that, for those trades, is the 4 hour time frame. So we're going to be looking at first we're going to be looking, we looked at the daily levels. So just to recap, in case you haven't seen them a million times over the past 2 weeks, 21K and 18K would be the 3 grand space that Bitcoin would be moving in. On the 4 hour, we have the 19.5K 200 MA that has been the major resistance. So this is the dynamic resistance that it has, and this is reflected in my trend lines as well. You will see it on the 4 hour. We don't have any major support in terms of the MAs. Price action tried to get above the 5, and it didn't manage to do so. It got rejected. So let's take the 12 hours. We don't have any support on the 12 hours either. Let's take the 1 day, no support on the 1 day either. However, the Bollinger might act as a support, and I believe this is what it has been doing so far. Even though we haven't seen it being touched, it's managed to hold the support. The Bollinger is also a formation. It's a dynamic channel formed by MAs. So here we have the Bollinger that stopped the daily movement at 18.5, and not accidentally, if we switch to traders reality, where is it? Last week's low, and the M0 is 18.5. So if we break the M0, a sell-off is highly likely. And my validation line for, it's a bit wonky. My validation line for the down is a little bit higher. It's around the M1 level at 18,600. But of course, in order to have the downward, this is where I would add to my short position, and I would DCA again once it breaks the previous low. So these would be my levels for DCAing. I DCA'd also towards the top here and here. So what I'm looking, I believe personally as a trader, I won't be closing my short because I'm waiting for the 17.3 target. I'm going to close I'm going to close 75% at 17.3, and the rest 25 at 16.5, because that's another level on the daily that I'm watching. Now, going back to the 1 hour levels, we saw the resistance on the 4 hour. We don't have too much support towards the bottom, so that's why I believe we will still see another push down. It hasn't cleared all of that support for nothing. Like it hasn't done it for nothing. Here we have the 20 and the 55 crossing down over the 4 hour. They've done so here as well. It hasn't been too much of a move. Now here it did it while it was on the way down. So I'm pretty sure here it was more of a momentum crossing. Here it's done it while it was down, and then the RSI rehabilitated, and now it's still down, and this rehabilitation didn't push the 20 up high. So again, that makes me think we might see at least the 18.5 being tested again, and the 18.5 would be breaking the M1 towards the M0 for today. Okay, so let's have a look at the possible trades that we have in for Bitcoin this week. It's going to be very similar. It's going to be very similar to last week's trade setup, because we are literally in the same space. We have been in the same space. Now, by the same space, I mean, where is my brush? There we go. This sideways channel. Now, this sideways channel, if I ignore, I generally ignore the swing that drops in, because that is the setup swing, and I measure 1, 2, 3 touches to the top, 1, 2. It still needs a touch here to the bottom. So on Friday, I think it was on Thursday session, I said we need a touch to the top. There was, it happened Friday. Now I believe we're going to need one more touch to the bottom. What it decides to do is yet to be seen. After that touch to the bottom, we might have a breakout from this sideways channel. I have this theory. It's purely empirical. I was looking for the word. I've had a quiet weekend, guys, so I'm sorry I didn't speak to too many people. And it's like my voice is starting over again now. Now I have this theory, because I'm looking at this channel, and we've had a break upwards from this space. I believe there's always a law of balance that will cause a breakdown of the same magnitude. So that's entirely empirical and based on my observation. Of course, I'm not going to trade my belief, but I will be trading the validation. So that's why I put this validation line here, so that I have a sooner validation rather than a later validation. And I will be DCAing. I broke my DCAs into 2, one time here, and then the next time when it breaks the previous low. And if I am to measure, this is a longer target. If I am to measure this channel and put the target here, that would be my 17.3 level on the daily. So I would be in confluence. This sideways channel would bring me to my daily target. So that's why I'm still in my Bitcoin short, and I'm not planning on going anywhere for the moment. So to me, that would be the first breakout trade that I see happening, and here's where I would put the target. Then of course, can we see some more upwards movement in this? Absolutely. I believe where we are right here, we can see a lift up to the 20K. If we hold support, and if we do manage, if we hold support and manage to break the 19.5 here, I think the 20K would be a likely move. And if the 20K holds, then up we go here, and that would be a breakout trade in the opposite direction. If I am to measure and place it here, there's a little bit of a difference, but you know, 21K, 21.3, what's $300 between friends? nothing too nothing too major. When it breaks this line of support that held once, twice, three times, four times, it'll definitely pop up to the 21.4. And if we're looking at the daily levels, 21.4 would be above the 55, above this line. Do we have? No, we don't have a daily. We don't have a daily support and resistance there. 21.4 was the 55, this line before the weekend, but it's no longer corresponding to any trend line at the moment as price action kept on going. Let me find, because there has to be a confluence, a point of confluence. That's 2100. Let me go to the weekly. $22K would be the 20 on the weekly, and 22K would make a little bit more sense, because if we look on the daily, if it goes up to here, this, to test this yellow divergence line, it would be 21.8. So do you know what I'm gonna do? If I check these levels, here would be 21.5 in validation of the downward move. In light of where the daily lines are right now, I'm going to bring this support and resistance line up here so that it reflects how price action has moved, because I've had these levels for a couple of weeks now, and I believe this one is no longer, doesn't have the daily backup and the weekly backup that I'm looking for, and it needs to, because this is a move that started, so this channel started in I'm going to take this at the beginning of September, so a week into September, 3 weeks. So this needs to have its confirmation on the weekly and the daily. So I'm going to bring this up here, and I'm going to make 21.9 the validation, the invalidation of the downward move, because if it gets up to here, I don't think it's going to come down too soon. I think chances are it's going to stay here, do a little bit of consolidation, and once it breaks the 21.6, it's going to continue upwards. But yeah, I would be looking at a different narrative here, because the 20 EMA on the daily is 19.5 right now. The 55 EMA on the daily is 20.5 right now. So you can imagine if on the hourly we get up to 21.7, that means we've been holding the two of them, and if we've been holding the two of them on the daily, the narrative changes to an upward trend. So the downtrend gets invalidated. Okay, so these would be the three trades I see possible for Bitcoin. Where we are right now, the 19.5 is the next point of reference, and then let me check the pivot point, because I keep. I know that sometimes the pivot points and the trend lines are in perfect confluence. Today, the 19,100 is the pivot point, somewhere around here, and we are above it. It's not, price action is not breaking through it. It might be waiting for New York to start and volumes to kick in to break down. We don't have too much support downwards, because the psychological levels are up above, but we do have the pivot point and the daily open below us, and they are generally quite solid as well. So again, we might see another sideways day and have to wait for tomorrow to see our moves. So that's it. These would be the three trades. The first, where did my first target? Aha, perfect. So this one up to 20K would be a regular swing in this channel. So it would lead to a double top formation if it happens. So would a touchdown to, so if you're trying to trade where we are right now down to here, I don't think personally you can start DCAing if you're going for this bigger short, but if you're trading only to here, it's too small a range. So yes, where we are right now could be a start of a short position, and then start DCAing once it breaks the 18.5 and then the previous low. But just to do a mid of the channel, midline of the channel to bottom of the channel trade, the range is not big enough for that. So, and also it would take a little bit of it would take mental energy to manage this trade. And again, if you're thinking longer term and think that it is going to go lower, yes, it's great to start a position here and DCA down if you haven't already. But if you're not in a short position, I would just enter on confirmation, because it would be less mental energy consumption on my part. Yeah, so that's it. So that would be Bitcoin. Both of these would be breakout trades. The only intra-channel trade would be up to the 20K line. So they would be breakout trades, and I believe we are in for a breakout. We've been consolidating here for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and all we need is a touchdown to the bottom, and this channel has its swings complete. Okay. Now, let's have a look at beautiful Ethereum. Ethereum has had beautiful ranges to trade this week. It's where is it? Okay, it's been holding the 1280 support, but as you can see on the daily, it's not doing so with great conviction. I'm going to take this away for a second. There we go. We are seeing a rounded top structure forming here. I don't particularly like this lower low. There are higher lows. Sorry, don't like this lower high. There are also higher lows. So both parties are fighting back, the bulls and the bears. But the stochastic on the daily has turned down, and this doesn't turn down very easily. As you can see, a little bit of a back test, turn down here, 5 days down, turn down here, 5 days down, turn down here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 15 days down. So I'm not sure this is going to hold. To be honest, I'm pretty convinced this is going to collapse downwards. That's what it looks like. Now, what we would need in Ethereum's case, because Ethereum is looking a little bit more tragic than Bitcoin, because it hasn't even had the strength to backtest the 20 EMA on the daily. So if we're looking at the two structures, Bitcoin backtested in this consolidation, Bitcoin backtested it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, whereas Ethereum, ever since collapsing here, hasn't yet touched it. We would need what they call a Hulk pump. So if we have a Hulk pump to get above the 20 EMA, yes, that would be amazing. And the 20 EMA is not accidentally the 1370, which is for Ethereum, 1350, 1370 is quite a historic level. If we go back to here, where this happened. So it came up to here. I know it looks very zigzaggy, but it's a big number. 1350, 1370 is a big range for Ethereum. So do I see it lifting up to there? Yes, it might do so temporarily to have the 4-hour stochastic catch a little bit of a breather. Do I think that's the most probable move? No, I don't think so. I think the 4-hour has already had its breather, to be honest. I think this is, again, we might see a little bit more sideways today, but I'm not sure there is strength in the market for a Hulk pump. The market makers never cease to surprise us, so maybe we will see that. But again, I am in the same space of, I see both directions very much possible. I see the downwards more probable because I keep looking at the structures that it fell out of. So this is a 4-hour wedge that Ethereum has been that Ethereum was moving between. It fell out of it, and now it's battling to hold the golden pocket of this huge, I think it was a 120% pump. So this was a massive lift for Ethereum to make. 140, sorry. And now it did a 702 correction, which is great, and now it's holding this, but it's holding this with a rounded top rather than a rounded bottom structure. Now what we would need to have this, if we're looking at this as on the 4-hour as a Wyckoff accumulation, because again, I keep trying to use the Wyckoff accumulation, and most of the times it proves me wrong. But how can I say this? I believe there is a game of catching liquidity on both sides in that Wyckoff accumulation. So in that Wyckoff accumulation, what we need is a higher high and a lower low. We haven't yet had, let me just check, maybe this can be considered a lower low and we're up from here, but it's not, this would catch a little bit of liquidity from here, but generally what we would need to see is a little bit more of a deeper low, and I'll show you, let me show you what I mean. Because the reason why I'm doing this for Ethereum and not Bitcoin is because Ethereum has had a bigger this is it, okay. Ethereum has had a bigger drop and a bigger range for consolidation, so it would make sense for the consolidation to be somehow done. So we have a higher high here, and then we have a lower low here. We need to have these two because they are the ones that catch liquidity on both sides. And if you are the market makers, you want to catch liquidity on both sides. So I don't think we've had that lower low for Ethereum, and I don't think we've had it for XRP either. I don't think we've had it for Bitcoin either. So I think we're heading towards that. This is the space that Ethereum has been moving between. At the weekend, it touched again the 1270. Bitcoin hasn't. Bitcoin didn't touch this bottom line at the weekend. It didn't come close. It just stopped here, stopped at the midline at the 19K. Came a little bit below it, but didn't come back to base. Whereas Ethereum did move towards the 1280, 1290 range and broke it. So we are still in the same space. Now, I feel very tempted to pull this down slightly to include the previous swing, and if I have to leave a little bit of overflow here, I will. So I will ignore this swing down. We have one swing up, one swing down, one swing up. Believe we have to come down one more time. Now, if I lift this box a little bit higher, it's very hard because there are levels within levels. this sideways is hard to read because it's not clear. Like there's an overflow swing to the top and an overflow swing to the bottom, an overflow area, sorry. So here would be the overflow. So we have one level here and one level here, and then the box here. So it's so minute to read. However, Ethereum has had good ranges, so it's worth putting those lines in, because if you're trading between those lines, you can make nice money. So it is worth looking at levels within levels, because we're talking about 4.4 ranges. If you can make if a range is 4.4 and let's say you leave 30% on the table, you make 30%. If you make 30% in this consolidation with each swing, happy days, you are gonna have at least 1x gains in 1 week, which is great. So it's worth putting these levels in. Now, with this setup, with this space that we're moving in, what would be our MA validations? Let me check. Okay, so we have Ethereum has gone a little bit below where Bitcoin is, so it is way below the 1 hour 250. I posted this. I couldn't figure out where Bitcoin is in the 15-minute arc. I have to sit with that for a couple more swings to be able to read it. The reason being is that Bitcoin didn't have this 5% drop. So I'm thinking about this I'm sure because this is the peak formation level 1. This might be level 2 again, because it has levels of correspondence to the left here and here. I know it's a little bit wonky and it's a little bit pierced, but that's okay. We are in very choppy sideways, good range, choppy sideways, so again, can't argue with that. And then I believe this is level 3. So maybe, again, I assume we've had 3 levels down, which makes this a double top. Now, if this or the next hour candle breaks up and goes above these 2 peaks, this double top structure is invalidated, and we're looking at mid-range high. Generally, mid-range high. This is why I believe this might be mid-range high, because it has a double top and then a lift up and then a drop. So if we do the same thing here, let's say we lift up to 50 or 200 on the 1 hour, and then we get rejected there and head down, I'm looking at a lower low. So if we do that, I'm looking at a lower low, and that confirming as a mid-range high and coming back down. That's what I was telling Roy. I thought he was talking about on his XRP charts, but it turns out he was talking about a bigger time frame, not the 15-minute one. Okay, so let's go back to the weekly planning. Now, this being a consolidation channel, again, I'm looking at the peak formation. So this is the peak formation. The line here. Let me just adjust. I don't know why my lines are so wonky. So this line here could be back tested. We could have a lift up to the 1400. We have seen that there is correspondence and confluence to the 1400 level. Absolutely. This would be a back test of the level 1 peak formation that we have here. Let me take the brush. This one here. So this would be a back test here, and then after that back test heading down. ETH also loves those double top, higher high, and then coming down 2 levels. So ETH will generally do like here it had a double, well, it had multiple tops here. Again, loves that double top. I'll take this high coming down. I'll take, this is like a quadruple top. It's not proving my point. Where can I find it? I think here, double top, mountain peak, drop. This is a 3 steps up, and I believe here we had the same thing, double top, mountain peak, drop 2 levels. Double top, mountain peak, drop 2 levels compared to this space. So as you can see, this space of the drop was twice the size of this space here. If we do the same, if we do a higher high up to 1400, maybe even 1500. So if it breaks, if it pumps, if there is a nice pump through the 1400, then we might see a 1500 level lift, and then from there I believe everything will be reset to the top and it will come down for the next level down, which would be the 1000. So it would be twice the size of this. There would be the next level down, 1000. And again, I'm keeping the same levels of breakout that we had in last week. So if I take this channel target and I place it above here, so above the previous peak, it would be a 1500. Can we see a 1500 lift? Yes, we can, especially if it picks up pace. Do I think that's the most likely move? No, I think the most likely move is just some sideways. The 1 hour is already at the top and has been at the top on the stochastic for a while. I think it's just some sideways move until New York kicks in and we're going to see a push down. What would be the validation for Ethereum? It would be breaking the 1280. I'll put it down as the 1280 because this is the bigger range here. It's a stronger, more confirmed. There we go. So what would be the confirmation for the down, breaking the 1280 and then making a lower low, breaking the 1200? And if we break the 1200, we do have an intermediate level at 1120, which would be the midline of this sideways channel that it exploded from, and then I will move this one down to, there we go, here, 11,000. So these would be the levels. Again, it's not, it wasn't, how can I say, we can map out the space because of the sideways. We can map out the space. I would be using limit orders. I know maybe you're not comfortable, but this is how I would be trading this. I would be using limit orders and starting small positions at the break of the 1370 and then DCAing in at the 1400 and then DCAing in maybe one more time at the 1470. So I would be putting in limit orders and DCAs for the lift up, and then I would be doing the same thing on the way down. So I would be starting a short when this 1 hour starts turning down, heading down, and the 15-minute stochastic tops out and starts heading down. I would be starting a short and then I would be DCAing in step by step. So this kind of trading requires a little bit more preparation in terms of the DCAs and the limit orders, but it can be very profitable because the space is very easy to, again, with experience, it gets very easy to map out. One thing that I want to tell you is that the MAs on ETH are a little bit more trustworthy. On Bitcoin, they get a little bit shady in this kind of tight sideways. So I would be using more the levels for confirmation and invalidation rather than the MAs, because the MAs can get very, very tight in this sideways and not so trustworthy. So that's it from me. Do you guys have any questions about ETH or Bitcoin?
When you say you're DCAing in, you're still like you pretty much DCA as long as it's going in the direction that you are hoping for it to go, right?
Yes, I can. Like it depends. I have to watch it, JD, because for instance, last week I DCA'd against the direction. Like last week I DCA'd when it did these two pumps, because I was expecting these pumps. I saw on the 1 hour and the 15 minute the RSI topping bottoming out, so I knew we were gonna have a lift, and there, because I was watching it, I could DCA against my short direction.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Hey,
the way we set up your first trade, remember when we said we might see a retrace up to the 1400, so it's good to put a DCA there.
right. Yeah. 100%. I think basically, if you're anticipating, if you can see how there's going to be a pump that comes and like awesome opportunity to see in, but if it's more so looking like a change, if it's kind of like up for grabs, if it may change and then it starts changing, maybe it wouldn't be a good
Yeah,
point
like
to. Yeah.
this could, like, the only time this is risky is when you are trading against the daily trend. Like that's what I did on my XRP trade, and I'm watching it right now because I DCA'd and I traded against, I shorted, and it is above the 20 on the daily. But with my Bitcoin trade, again, I'm going with the trend. The price action is below the 20 EMA, so the trend is down and I am shorting. I will DCA on the way up because I know those are just retraces, moments when momentum, the RSIs catch a breather, and they're going to come down because the trend hasn't changed. But it is risky if you hold the trade open, if you hold the position open for too long and the trend changes. So if you hold the position open for too long and price action gets above the 20 on the daily, that's when I would be looking at cutting my, for instance, taking a loss or cutting my losses at the retrace on the 20 on the daily. So that's when it can get dangerous. It doesn't get that dangerous too often, but that would be the only danger.
Gotcha. Cool. Thank you.
Super. Okay. Super, guys. Now, I've already posted everything that I've said while Roy was doing his session, so you can find my posts and the most recent TA on the chats. Again, long story short, ETH and Bitcoin are below the 20, still continuing their downtrend. The stochastic on the daily is down. I think the more likely move is going to be down. Can we see a lift up for a breather? Yes, we can. But until we hold the 20 EMA on the daily and hold it at least for 2 daily candles, we can't talk about a rally or a lift. Okay, super. Have a beautiful Monday. Have a beautiful week. Trade safely, and I'll see you in the chats and tomorrow morning.